Mrs. Block, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for joining us today. We do look forward to being able to put some questions to you and get some answers. Today, we learned from the media that your department withheld information from the minister on the overspending of ArriveCan. It would appear you did not, and my questions are being directed to Ms. Reza. It would appear that you did not brief the minister on ArriveCan or the scandal surrounding ArriveCan. Why was this left out of his briefing document?
Thank you very much for the question. I believe in July 23, when the briefing material was put together, there was an extensive list of immediate topics that were coming forward, including some defense procurement, some health and safety around bridges, the McKinsey reports. There was many different pieces ongoing. So at that time, the AG and the OPO were starting to do their review, and it was in flight, and it was considered perhaps in the first tranche, not the immediate. It became much more hot once again as the months progressed, and the minister was briefed accordingly.
So you left out a pretty pertinent issue that I believe any one of us as parliamentarians, were we in the minister's shoes, would have wanted to hear about. When did the minister ask for a briefing on ArriveCan? Just the date.
We'll have to come back with a precise date over the fall of 2023 with the allegations of Bottler and the various elements of the spending around ArriveCan and the audits that were being done by the AG and the procurement ombudsman. More information was made available and more briefings were scheduled to his minister's office as well.
So when did you inform the minister about the cost overruns of ArriveCan?
Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. We'll have to come back with a precise breakdown of timing. Again, the cost overruns and the budget of ArriveCan is the CBSA's purview. So we really looked at it from providing the background on the procurement vehicles that PSPC put in place for CBSA.
So while you said that this fell under CBSA's purview, you provide oversight to every single department across government for procurement. And I find it really hard to believe that in July of 2023, when the $60 million cost of the app was already baked in, so to speak, and you didn't think to bring this up to the minister, and you can't even provide us with the dates when he first asked for the briefing or when you advised him of this issue, knowing that you were coming to committee today and we were going to be asking about ArriveCan. That's incredible to me that you didn't come prepared with more information about ArriveCan and the involvement of your department, given what we heard from the Auditor General and the procurement ombuds about the oversight that your department provides. So when did you brief the minister about GC Strategies? Again, we're talking about the two-person IT company that did no actual work on IT and got paid $20 million for ArriveCan. Was he briefed on that?
Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Chair. As the fall moved into November, December, as more and more allegations were coming to fruition in terms of getting ready to come to OGO, briefings took place in terms of GC Strategies and ArriveCan with the minister.
So can you just repeat that last part?
Sure. In preparation of our committee appearance, I believe it was in November, ahead of that, discussions were taking place, as I noted earlier, in terms of ArriveCan, briefing the minister's office, in terms of GC Strategies on the contractual elements.
So to be really clear, July 2023, the minister is appointed. The price tag of $60 million is pretty much already baked in. We knew it was at least $54 million. You knew about GC Strategies because that had already been in the news. They had already received or been paid $9 million on ArriveCan at this point. And the minister didn't ask for a briefing, and you didn't provide one until November?
Thank you very much. Again, the minister arrived in July. There was many different materials that were being provided, including on procurement, defense procurement, on McKinsey, on many different topics that were decision-making time from the fall, September, October, November, from the time that the minister appeared in front of OGO to discuss it. Briefings were taking place in terms of GC strategies, in terms of our contracting vehicles, in terms of PSPC's involvements, roles, and responsibilities with his office, and then more frequently with the minister.
So as the deputy minister, did you have a role in what went into the briefing binder for the new minister?
Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Chair. I wasn't a deputy minister at the time.
That is our time. Mrs. Kusi, please, for 5.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, Ms. Reza, my team just wanted to verify that you're in the room by yourself. There was just some concern around the table. Okay, thank you very much for verifying that. I want to go back to this story in the press today, which is just absolutely breathtaking, that the ArriveCan file was absent from the list of delicate files submitted to the minister. And it was 10 files. It's astounding to me that out of 10 files, ArriveCan was not in that top 10. What was in that was the National Shipbuilding Strategy, F-35 fighter jets, CP-140 Aurora, 16 P-8 A-8 Poseidon, the dental care program, and yet somehow ArriveCan, an issue that had been relevant for 10 months prior to the arrival of the minister, was excluded from this. Now, I understand, Ms. Reza, that you did not arrive in your position until November 2nd of 2023, as per your bio on the internet. But previous to that, you were, of course, the Associate Deputy Minister. So did you not have a hand in preparing that briefing book? Certainly, I think that as the Associate Deputy Minister, may I ask who your predecessor was, please?
Paul Thompson.
Yes, did Mr. Thompson not work in tandem with you, or did you not work in tandem with Mr. Thompson to prepare this briefing binder, which would have left out this all-important issue?
Thank you very much. And just to confirm, I am alone because I am sick at home. And in terms of my participation, I certainly participated in creating the briefing material. I was on vacation at the time. However, again, I want to reemphasize that this was to onboard Minister Duclos in a very large portfolio with very many different possibilities of files coming up in the immediacy. There was no intent not to bring that on in terms of ArriveCan as an immediate. It was under review by the Auditor General at the time.
Yeah, and for all of these reasons, it's still shocking to me that this was not included in a binder. I have the very good fortune of being a public servant for close to 15 years. One of those years was in a ministerial office, and I can't fathom leaving out something, an issue so big that could potentially bring down the government, even, I would dare say, that it would be excluded from such a binder. When Minister Duclos arrived, did he ask any questions about ArriveCan? Certainly he must have been interested in an immediate brief on such an important issue, an issue that has seized the Canadian press in recent months. Did he ask for an update on this? Noting the absence from, out of 10 issues, noting the absence from the briefing book.
Thank you very much for your question. As I noted, over the course of the fall, the Butler allegations came out as the AG report in preparation for the OGO committee. As we say, more on GC strategies, more briefings occurred with the minister's office and with the minister.
Right. And but can you expand then upon your conversations? Did he ever raise concern about this then $54 million app, which we know now is a minimum of $60 million, probably even more because the documentation wasn't correct? Did he ask for more specifics about it? Did he raise any concern about a 2-person IT company? Did he ask for a full inventory of this 2-person IT company? Can you recall anything that he asked for specifically relative to this, since it was absent from the briefing book?
Thank you very much for the question. As I've noted, when we came even in November or December to Ogo with the minister to talk about, we had a conversation about ArriveCan. He had been briefed. He had shown an interest in understanding. He was very concerned about the probity of the contracting and the contracting authorities and the spend at GC Strategies and what the department was doing in terms of lessons learned.
Right. Now, I certainly hope Minister Jazik did a good job, or would have done a good job of briefing him relative to this briefing book. Certainly, as an incoming minister, I would have this expectation of my colleague to provide me a briefing of the most important issue in procurement at the time. Was it ever suggested to the minister to talk to cabinet colleagues, the Minister of Public Safety, about what's going on in ArriveCan, anything like that?
Thank you very much. I will have to defer to the minister on those discussions. We spent a lot of time at PSPC talking to Public Health Agency and talking to CBSA to better understand the contracts.
Ever briefed the Prime Minister on ArriveCan after it being excluded from the briefing book? Hopefully he recognized the importance of the issue, received some briefing somewhere, somehow, and then talked to the Prime Minister about it. Did this ever happen?
I have not spoken to the Prime Minister about this.
But did the minister speak to the Prime Minister
I'm sorry,
about ArriveCan? As his issue, wanting to inform the Prime Minister of what is possibly the most important issue of since the 2021 election.
Yeah, that is our time.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Mr. Genuis, then Mr. Sousa.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I am fundamentally perplexed about the role that your department is sort of supposed to be playing. If the decisions are ultimately made by the department, in this case CBSA, and if you provide a recommendation not to proceed with a procurement, but they sort of do it anyways. And if your minister, the minister who's supposed to be responsible for all this, is not being briefed on a core file, I guess I'm just trying to understand what you do, like what value are you adding as a department to the government of Canada?
Thank you very much for the question. I think, again, I'm going to go back to the fact that we focus on the procurement process. The client department has a responsibility to provide the value, to be able to judge whether or not they got value for money for the procurement. In this case, we heard from the AG very clearly that that was not something doable. PSPC's remit is to ensure best value in the procurement process and ensuring that the tools are the right tools for the procurement that is being tendered. In this case, as you can see, it was not able to provide that condition for best value, and we have to temper it by the pandemic and the various elements that were going on there.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I understood you to say that you're focused on the procurement process. Of course, there are academics, PhD students who focus on the procurement process as well, insofar as they study how it works. Your job as a government department, I think, is to focus on the procurement process, but also to exercise some power or impact over that process. That is to actually shape decisions. If you're not doing that, if things can go so far awry and you're not exercising power over those decisions, and you're not briefing the minister who's supposed to be responsible, then I guess I'll just ask the question again. So what value are you adding to the process? You're focusing on it, but what are you doing?
Well, we're focusing on it to try to manage and mitigate risk and ensure best value for Canadians and drive down the cost to procurement and seek efficiencies. There are shared responsibilities. So if you come as a department that comes and looks to say we want to procure X or Y, we provide that overview of how best to procure that in a way that's efficient for Canadians.
In the case of ArriveCan, your recommendation was not followed, and you're not able to tell us who was responsible, either on your side or in the case of the other department. So like if theoretically you're supposed to exercise some shared responsibility, you didn't in this case, right?
So thank you very much for the question. The authority to enter into a contract for the government of Canada rests with the contracting authority. In this case, it was PSPC. So we actually have the documentation of who provided the authority to enter into a contract, who signed the contracts. What has been very difficult is understanding the choice of GC Strategies, the sole source choice of GC Strategies, and the compelling sole source justification provided by CBSA. There is material on file, and again, it is a shared responsibility.
Okay, but they're the ones who made the decision. You're saying you don't know how or why they made the decision. I guess, would you acknowledge, at least in this case, that that your department did nothing or added no value? And what's the minister supposed to be doing in the process?
Okay, thank you very much. I will not acknowledge that. I will describe once again what we've done. We ensured that the firm that they chose was a firm that was eligible, that was on a pre-competitive, had been pre-qualified on a competitive tool that has evaluation criteria that's published. We ensured that the price band...
if GC Strategies could have been on that pre-qualified list, we clearly have a broken system. You ensured narrow compliance with them being on a list. You identified that they shouldn't be given the contract. They were given the contract anyways. How many people work at the department, and what would you say to taxpayers who just don't understand what the point of all this is?
Just brief answer, please.
Well, I would say this. I would say that PSPC during the pandemic did $20 billion of procurement on behalf of Canadians for PPE, medical equipment, procurement of vaccines, and keeping many different departments up and running. We've had several clean audits from the Auditor General, and the value that we provided was on the procurement process.